Let's go and move with life. Let it go. Something new tonight. Let's go and move with life. Let it go. Something new tonight.
G'day guys, welcome to the Unofficial Scorecard Podcast, a podcast where we talk all things boxing and occasionally the wider world of combat sports. This is episode 76. So guys, today we are joined by a returning mate of the show, a true Tusk Pod fan favourite. If the Tusk Pod even has fans, which it probably doesn't, but certainly one of my favourites from Code Sports and his traditional ringside seat at most high-profile Aussie shows. It is Brendan Bradford. It was awesome to get Brendan back on, guys. We had an awesome chat about all the happenings for mainly Australian boxing throughout the month of December. But just a quick note, just like on the last episode with Luke Cattell, I had a problem with the video. And I don't know what's going on, so I've clearly got to do some research and try and figure out why the video portion isn't working for me at the moment. So this is another old school episode, guys, just the audio only. But it was a great chat, and I don't even really watch anything on YouTube like podcasts. I always listen to it anyway, so I don't think it'll be a problem. But guys, what did Brendan and I get into? Well, we got into heaps. Obviously, we had to review all the fights and the massive knockout from Jai Opetaia that just happened a couple of days ago, and all the fallout and storylines surrounding that card, Tasman Fighters, Stan Sport, pay-per-view, fight results, all of it, and who better to do it with than Brendan. Then guys, we move through the schedule. There are a lot of Aussies in action throughout December. Of course, we had to talk about the Tim Tszyu comeback card, which is fantastic, with Sam Goodman and Tyler Blizzard, Paulo Acuso, Callum Peters and Cody Beacon, Cohen Mazzuti, Dominic Molinaro, just to name a few. We've also got Cherneka Johnson defending her undisputed bantamweight title. Sky Nicholson's back on a really good show on Sunday the 14th of December with Diego Pacheco and Kevin Saggio in the headline position. That's a great little 4-fight card. More on that later. Guys, we also spoke about Dylan Biggs' run in the WBC Boxing Grand Prix. Excuse me, I've been talking for a while now, and we finished off with a few early thoughts from the Zerafa V Nikita matchup. Guys, I could literally talk to Brendan for hours. He actually did this from his office at his work. He took some time out of his day, so I would love it if this pod went for 3 hours, but I think we chatted for about an hour. I just couldn't take any more of his time, but he's such a nice bloke. You guys would have heard him before. More in the outro, but let's get to the chat with Brendan now. All right, well, here I am, joined by one of the most respected and experienced boxing media members in the country. Current combat sports writer at Code Sports, featured in just about every newspaper in Australia, the man with the best fight nights / event coverage in the world, Canelo's best mate, returning mate of the show, Brendan Bradford. BB, thanks for coming back, mate.
Oh, too kind, mate. How could I possibly live up to that intro? Canelo sends his regards.
Oh, yes, he's a fan, is he?
Oh, he listens every week.
Oh, mate, would I be pushing it to try and get a 5-star review out of him? Or?
Surely he likes and subscribes.
Oh, mate, the honour of a lifetime. How good. But, Brendan, I was going through the schedule for December, mate, and there was so much Australian-specific action going on. It only made sense to put up the bat signal, mate, and see if you come back on for a chat. And luckily for me and the people listening, you accepted the call, mate. So I reckon let's get straight into it, because we're coming off a pretty eventful card up on the Gold Coast just on the weekend. I'm sure if everyone's listening, they know the results. Jai Opetaia defended his world title in the end in spectacular fashion, with an 8th round knockout over Hussein Cinkara. There was a lot of action on the undercard, which we'll get to, mate. But just straight off the bat, we have to start at the top and work our way down. What were your thoughts on Jai's performance?
Scary knockout. One of those knockouts where you're just sort of waiting to make sure that the guy is okay. Cinkara. Incredible punch, and another one to add to his highlight reel, Jai Opetaia. He's got a couple of those now, just those brutal, perfect highlight reels kind of knockouts, one punch kind of things. I think he did it to Jordan Thompson as well a year or so, about 2 years ago, I think it was now. Phenomenal knockout from Jai Opetaia.
Oh my God, mate. And you would probably know better than most. I've heard in the aftermath that there were some pretty significant injuries sustained by both guys. Do you have an update on that a few days later?
Yeah, so they both went to hospital after the fight. They both went to a hospital on the Gold Coast. Cinkara with a neck, they're saying a neck fracture. The terminology didn't quite. I'm not a doctor, but it didn't quite stack up. It was a slight fracture of a vertebrae, so a fractured neck for Cinkara. And I can imagine that would have been just the way he landed. He kind of flopped into the ropes, and his head went back pretty awkwardly there. And then there was concern that Jai had a busted eye socket or an orbital, but I'm told that was not the case. Just sort of, I guess, a bit of bruising, bit of damage. But he was out and about on Sunday, which is yesterday. So no broken bones for Jai Opetaia apparently. But yes, they both made the trip to hospital after. And to be honest, like Cinkara had a good crack and wobbled Jai early on, so it was a bit of back and forth action for a little while there before the spectacular knockout.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well, no, thanks for the update. I hadn't heard the severity at least being downgraded for Jai's eye, which is one hell of a relief. And yeah, hopefully Cinkara has a speedy recovery with no hurdles as well. The man's an absolute warrior. But after the fight, Jai was really down on himself, on his performance. When I was watching it live, it sort of looked to me a lot like Jai was really forcing it. I don't want to use the word sloppy, but, I don't think it was the best version of Jai that we'd ever seen. It sort of kind of spoke to me like I think Jai found it hard to get up for this one. I think he's at the point now where he just so badly deserves to be on the biggest cards under the biggest, brightest lights for the biggest stakes and the most money too, that this sort of level of mandatory challenger, with all due respect, just sort of isn't doing it for him anymore. We saw earlier in Jai's career when he, like sort of pre-Breeders, when he had the injured hand, that Jai really would fight up and down to his level of competition. And, guys would, due to that hand injury, he really couldn't let it go. Guys would hang around for rounds before he would be able to sort of maybe get stoppages or win on points or whatever it may be. But it seems like, getting the hand fixed, he absolutely blew through that issue that he had. And you mentioned the Jordan Thompson fight, Alice Zorro, even the Jack Massey fight was brilliant and tactical and violent and ferocious. But this one to me seemed like Jai, he wasn't boxing first. He was just trying to get this guy out of there from the jump. I think we're kind of entering sort of mentally with Jai again, how he's, with all due respect to Cinkara, sort of his performances are varying depending on his level of opposition, but also depending on his level of motivation. He says all the right things in interviews. He's you've obviously spoken to him. I imagine it's always nothing but a pleasure, and you're certainly going to be able to get some personality and some quotes for articles and things like that. But did that sort of strike you when you were watching it as well, Brendan, or am I sort of being a bit harsh on this read?
No, I think you're actually spot on there. The fact, and I just guess, the fact that he was, he went over to Las Vegas for Canelo Crawford and, was in the room with Turkey trying to get these big fights made. And, he told me he's been, speaking to Turkey, speaking to a couple of fighters, managers and things, just trying to get things rolling, just trying to get the ball moving. So I think there's absolutely an element of, and look, no disrespect to anyone on the Gold Coast or anyone, Tasman Fires or anything, but if you're Jai Opetaia, you're thinking, look, I've won the title against Breeders a few years back. Obviously, you had the issue with the IBF, the IBF had the issue with Team Opetaia. Bout goes, comes back, but he's still fighting respectfully, still fighting on the Gold Coast when he should be, on these blockbuster cards, unifying titles. I can just imagine, and I can only imagine, but yeah, you can imagine that the motivation factor for, a guy 40 years old like Cinkara, hasn't fought in a while, really no great pedigree to speak of, if we're being honest. The motivation to be able to get up for a fight like that. Now, I'm not saying that Jai's slacking off like at all. Like, he goes into the gym and he just thrashes himself for however many months of training camp, but mentally, like, I'm just trying to put this a little bit diplomatically, but mentally, when you're fighting at the Gold Coast Convention Centre, when you could be in, Vegas or Florida or Saudi or England fighting for, unifying the division for millions of dollars, surely that's got to play a sort of mental factor in it. And absolutely spot on. He can sort of fight to the level of his opponents, which is sort of where is he at? Obviously, he's got these stunning knockouts. He's pound for pound the best fighter in Australia at the moment. But you'd hope he'd rise to the level, of a Zerdo or someone like that. If he sort of, not that he sinks to Cinkara's level, but he kind of, maybe thought he was just going to go out there and blitz him in 2-3 rounds, and it takes a few rounds longer than that. So, it's an interesting one, and just hopefully for Jai, he can lock in some of those big fights and the big paydays as well from here.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. I agree. And like we see it in other sports all the time, like whether it's the AFL or the NRL, like top teams who are going to go deep in finals lose to wooden spooners every season. It happens every year, all the time, where they're just that 1 or 2% off or 5% off or whatever it may be, and maybe guilty of thinking like, all right, we get through this, and we're with the finals start the week after, so we'll really lock, get this one out of the way, and we'll worry about the big dance down the track. But it can stuff you up mentally, and I think that's where Jai is now, and God, it must be frustrating for him. Like, all he's doing is mentioning, Zerdo's name and Badu Jack and even Chris Billum-Smith, and no one is mentioning his name, which is the crazy thing. He's clearly the number one standout in that weight division by a country mile, in my opinion. Like, I don't think he has trouble with Badu Jack or Zerdo in the slightest. But yeah, these guys clearly just don't want a bar of him. What do you think the chances are going forward, Brendan, of Jai getting one of those opportunities? I mean, we've got Badu Jack in the rematch with Noel Mikhailian coming up next weekend. This coming weekend, actually, on that weird charity event or something like that. I think he's fighting on. He would seem to be free should he win. I don't know if Noel Mikhailian would be interested in unification with Jai if he were to win. What do you think the chances are of Jai getting something bigger, for the first part of next year?
The longer he doesn't get it, the less hopeful I am. He started talking about, this time last year, even sort of 12, 14 months ago, he was talking about Billum-Smith when Billum-Smith had, was the champ and looked like he was one of the top dogs, and things changed. And, Jai's still trying to track down these guys, still trying to lock them down. Now Zerdo's looking to David Benavidez, which sort of came out of nowhere for everyone, I think. And I spoke to when the Cinkara fight got announced, maybe 2 months ago, whenever that was. I spoke to Jai, and he said, he went and organised the meeting with Turkey to, like, he's trying to, like, personally do some of the stuff himself just to get the ball rolling, because it's so frustrating, sort of, I guess, not being able to, having to take a step back and other people doing it for him. So he's trying to get that, like, that's how much he's desperate and frustrated and wants to make these fights happen. And I just don't know, like, Zerdo came out with the comment, I think it was last week, saying, he hadn't heard of Jai Opetaia till recently. And, I don't know. I don't know what more sort of he could do. Then you started looking at the risk reward factors for those kind of guys, and massive risk. And, for a guy like Zerdo, he'd probably make a lot more money fighting Benavidez coming up than he could probably make for Jai Opetaia. So at the end of the day, it's one of those situations where, like it or not, it's not really about the boxing; it's about the business. And who's gonna, which fight's gonna put more zeros in the paycheck for the least amount of risk, and unfortunately, Jai Opetaia is just a too big of a risk.
Yeah, damn it, the realities of this horrible sport. But mate, did you see a couple of months ago when Jai did that interview with TalkSport in England?
Which one was that?
So it was the one where they said that he was possibly there was an offer on the table to fight Chris Billum-Smith with a $1 million purse.
That's right.
And Jai was like, he can fucking have the $1 million. and he kept just constantly swearing, and they were like, Jai, you can't swear. And he just kept swearing the whole time. But he's so real. He's just naturally a swearer, It's just how he is. But man, I believed him. Like when he said it, obviously I'm super biased, but he's like, mate, there's $1 million on the table. He can have it. I'll get my own money somewhere else. I just want the fight. I believe him when he says all these things, and I think everyone else in the division does too. And they don't want a bar of him.
Yeah. That's Jai, right? Like he just does not care about all that shit. Basically, he just wants to punch on, and. Everyone loves him for it, but maybe it's a little bit of an undoing when you get to the top levels and you've got to start this politicking and money and business and stuff like that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he's got to undercutting himself a little bit there, but that is why he's so engaging and so interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I'm being a bit doom and gloom on it when you can, not perform to the best of your ability and still end with a absolutely spectacular knockout of the year contender. I mean, that's still you passed the test with flying colours and did it rather easily. But
and like he mentioned in the ring afterwards, maybe a little bit of an off night for him. Maybe that's a little bit of an enticement for some of these guys to sort of say, "Oh, look, he's not all that. Maybe we can take him out. Maybe that's maybe it works in his favour in the end. I'm not sure."
Yeah. And I saw a post, and I can't credit the person who put it out, but I can't remember who it was. I apologise, but someone said, and I don't know if this is true, but just going by the memory it is, and I think you would be in a position to know more so than I would, Brendan, that 5 of Jai's last 6 opponents have gone to the hospital after the fight.
Oh, I reckon that probably checks out. Claudio Squio had a busted jaw. He's drinking through a straw for a while. David Nika, he definitely went to hospital. And then, I don't know whether I can say it. Apparently, he went to the hospital, got back to the hotel, and I think, it was late at night or whatever, so those revolving doors, I think you have to scan a card or something. Anyway, long story short, I think he got stuck in the revolving door for a couple of minutes. Poor old David Nika, the sun was coming up and he'd just been out of hospital.
He's not having a good day.
Yeah. Jack Massey, again, knockout. Maurice Breedis went through hell. Alice Zorro and Jordan Thompson, both big knockouts. So, yeah, that probably checks out.
Man, Jai is a wrecking ball. Unbelievable. But, well, hopefully there's something, sort of bigger with more stakes behind it where that Jai can fully get motivated for coming up in the near future. But, mate, we had some quite interesting results on the undercard, and I just want to jump to a particular fight because I know you're pretty close with Paul Fleming. He hadn't fought for close to 3 years, came up 2 weight classes to super lightweight and fought Jake Wiley. It ended in a 10-round draw. Before we get to the actual fight, mate, something tells me, and I have no inside information or anything, but I reckon you probably knew about this fight before most. What were your thoughts about hearing Paul coming back at his age and up 2 weight classes?
Yeah, the up 2 weight classes, that was the thing that really surprised me. And then it's always a matter of which Paul Fleming shows up, especially after so long out. But he's doing all right. If he can get a draw, and people are still arguing in the comments about which way it should have gone and the scorecards, which I'm sure we'll get to, but he's doing all right if at his age and that kind of inaction against a guy like Jake Wiley, who is just never going to take a backwards step and is going to be super fit and has been busy in some big fights this year. Flemo, mate, he's doing all right if that's the result, a split draw. And, a fair amount of people are saying that he should have got the nod in that one. So, I saw him. He had an exhibition with Billy Dibb probably 2-3 months ago in Sydney, and it was very much an exhibition. It was, they weren't trying to go out and smash each other, but he looked in decent nick, and he's just such a natural boxer that every time he steps into the ring, I'm convinced now that even if he's had a bad camp or even if he's injured or whatever, he's going to be able to be impressive at stages in the fight because he's just such a natural and just such a good fighter. Flemo, what a comeback! Even though he's, controversial decision, didn't get the win, but a very impressive fight for Paul Fleming.
So is this just a one-off for Paul? Like, does he want to, have a few more fights? Does he want to stay at this weight? What are his sort of plans? Do you have any idea?
There was talk that basically the Billy Dibb fight was a sort of test the waters, see if he's still got it, see if he still wants to do it, to try and make another sort of a run. And I guess this would be the first fight. The Jake Wiley fight is the first one back. Interesting to see if now the way it went and the scorecards that were turned back, if he still wants to keep going. It's not an easy sport. He's got 7 kids, there's a lot of sacrifice, and it's just a tough sport, and it's ugly and messy and dirty at times. So I think he's proved he's still got the talent and the skill, but that can only take you so far. And once you start sort of getting up the ranks and fighting these other guys, then you started talking about damage and wear and tear and stuff. So that's one for me to check out. Maybe I think this week I'll see if he's going to kick on with it or if it was just a one and done.
Yeah, mate. Certainly an admirable performance. I mean, he was definitely, trying to pot shot and kind of steal rounds with minimal activity, but that's kind of always been the Paul Fleming way, but never really a puncher, especially not up 2 weight classes. But yeah, I don't know. I thought the scores were a bit weird. I thought I would have given the nod to Wiley, I think, just with more activity. I just didn't feel like Fleming did enough, He had some spectacular moments, and I feel like if he had the conditioning and the base under him just to do a little more, he certainly could have made it a lot clearer. But at least to my eye, it looks like Wiley just sort of outworked him for the majority of most of the rounds. But that can happen when I think Paul's 37 or 38, isn't he? Do you know how old he is?
Yeah, it'd be about that. And he had that the fight in Penrith, 2-3 years ago now, and lost that one to Charlie Suarez, right? Like who went on and probably should have won a world title. Or did win a world title. What happened? No, he fought Navarrete, didn't he?
I think he lost to Navarrete, yeah.
And it was a controversial. Was it a punch or was it a something else? There's always something when Navarrete fights in a world title fight. There's always some kind of controversy. But
what is it with that?
Look, I probably would have given it to Jake Wiley as well. I think scores of 100 to 90 Wiley, 95, 95, 93, 97 Fleming. I probably would have given it 93, 97 Wiley.
Yeah.
93, 97 I think is probably fair. But I think Jake, closer to his own natural weight and just outworked him, was doing more sort of positive stuff. All the big sort of moments with Jake Wiley were from Jake Wiley's doing. Although Fleming was trying to counter and trying to pot shot and had a few highlight moments, but most of the good work I think was Jake. And I would have given Jake the nod, but certainly a decent showing from Flemo.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he decides to stick with it, he can only be better for it moving forward for sure. So interesting for what's next for both guys. But we'll go to the other controversial draw of the card. Brendan, and it's Aussie boxing, so there's always some weirdness, and we just got a fair bit of it this night. But we had Jack Gregory and Hayden Emerson fighting to a 10-round majority decision draw in their fight. I thought Gregory jumped out of the blocks quick as, mate. His timing was brilliant, but the toughness and the work rate of Emerson, I felt like just wore him down as the fight wore on. I thought Emerson sort of won quite clearly, but we ended up with another draw. What did you make of it? Like you just spoke about how weird the cards were in that fight. What did you make of this one?
Yeah, this is. I don't know what to say about this one. Like I thought, spot on. I think I agree. And Jack Gregory's been in some close, strange sort of fights. He got the. He did beat Matt Floyd earlier this year, I think, but ever since that day, Matt Floyd's been saying, "Nah, we're not including that on my record." Basically, it just doesn't exist. A split decision win over Amazenyi and a majority decision win over Josiah Portawa earlier this year. So, look, I'm not saying anything, but all those fights were in Queensland. And
okay.
and I love Brisbane, I love the Gold Coast, and I love Queensland, but I don't know, that maybe I'm not saying anything.
Either am I, but I'm picking up what you're putting down.
It's boxing.
Exactly. But entertaining fight. I'd love to see a rematch for both the draws, to be honest. But in this sport, that really happens. But mate, we'll go on to Max McIntyre's pretty flawless performance against Jed Morris. With who fell out? That's right, Justice Hooney. So they moved Max McIntyre into the co-main position. I mean, if there's ever a guy that will just soak up the spotlight and seemingly just eat pressure, it's Max McIntyre, and he certainly delivered. What were your thoughts on Max's performance?
Yeah, absolutely. So he's a star in the making, Max McIntyre, and he's been that way since he was 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. He's almost ready-made for these sort of big shows and big stages. He can talk, and he knocks people out too. And again, another really impressive performance. Just truly the sort of sky's the limit. We're sort of, it feels like we're coming to reaching the end of sort of one generation of top Aussie boxers at the moment, and looking for that next crop, and definitely Max McIntyre is one of those guys that that'll come through, and mate, I've no doubt he'll be fighting for world titles and stuff eventually.
Yeah, well, one to keep an eye on, mate, and that's why you're such a pro, BB. Perfect segue. You did it for me from the ushering in the new generation to one of the old guard that I thought had a pretty throwback vintage performance. Jason Maloney was back against a pretty tough Herlin Gomez. I mean, it probably went the way it should have gone if Jason was top notch, but Jason, after a couple of losses over in Japan, had to get in there and do it and exercise those demons, and he certainly did that. I was just happy to see one of the good guys of Australian boxing get a win in front of his home crowd. It was a real feel good moment for me. But with Jason moving forward, I'm sure you would echo my thoughts personally on him as well. But getting back to the top of those lighter weight classes, I think the Maloney's are 35. Unless you're an Anito Donaire or some just freak of nature, once you start hitting mid-30s at those lighter weight classes, it seems to generally spell the end more often than not. How optimistic are you that Jason can sort of push on and make another run at the top?
Yeah, I think you sort of touched on the two losses he had in Japan. That probably, I guess, signals it. But look, I'd love to see him make another run, and spot on. Like two of the best blokes in the sport in Australia, the Maloney boys, and you're really just rooting for them whenever they're fighting, whatever they're doing, wherever they are. They fight all over the world. They fight, travelled during COVID, going over to the bubble, and between them, they've had incredible highs and some lows and some controversial sort of losses and stuff. And through it all, just they've always just been very down to earth, very just good people, both of them. And like you say, awesome to see him fighting and getting a good win. And it's just they're both just such good boxers to watch, just fundamentally really good, classy boxers. But then, look, mid-30s at those lighter weight classes, when you're getting it below 125, your mid-30s is probably, closer to 40 years old if you're a bit heavier. And, they've Jason's had a lot of fights and a lot of big fights. And, every year, every month makes it a little harder to get back to the top. But, look, I guess this is step one if he is going to get there. Winning this fight and knocking a guy out, not losing a single round is probably step number one if he is to get there. But I just sort of hope the best for both of them, and hopefully see him a few more times in action in Australia as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Always fingers crossed for the Maloneys. But mate, we also had Terra Moana on the card. Just in another complete total waste of time fight. And I got a bit of BB style blowback on the internet. Like one of the rare times. I don't really get much blowback because I'm pretty anonymous, but I know people lash out at you sometimes, but I was just like, all right, no more of these waste of time fights. And some guy was like, no, he needs 4 or 5 more of these. And I'm like, what? No, he doesn't. This is doing nothing for him. And what do we need to watch it for? And he's like, no, this is how, development works. I'm like, there's no development here. He needs rounds. Like, anyway, so some people love watching big blokes just get in there for 20 seconds and bowl someone over. I personally don't, but
no, I don't like it either.
What do you want to see moving forward? Like, clearly the obvious elephant in the room is there has to be a step up in competition, but do you think realistically for the money that these opponents are going to be paid to fight a Terra Moana who's very early in his pro career, like maybe to that guy's point who had a go at me, maybe this is all they can get. Like anyone who's, kind of that next step up the rung of the ladder, maybe they're just like, man, triple that money and maybe I'll think about it. But how do you think he's going to have success sort of progressing in that respect, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably spot on. Like it's going to get very expensive to match him up. They had the very same issues with Justice Huni. The guy's, his profile is massive compared to the amount of fights he's had, and everyone knows how dangerous he is. Sounds a bit like Jai Opetaia, to be fair too. It'd be very tough to match him up. Terra Moana made a pretty good call out. He mentioned Liam Tulivata after the win. I think that's a great fight.
I didn't hear that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, really good step up. Well, I'm sure I heard that. Might have made that up. But
hopefully you've willed it into existence.
Yeah, look, if we just say it here, it happened, all right?
Except for the Conor Wallace-Paulo Akuzo fight. That's
I'm never going to give that up. Keep hammering that home. But there's heaps of really intriguing fights for Terra Moana, domestically. Liam Tulivata, Kiki Latelli. I suppose it'll never happen, I don't think, but Justice Huni. There's plenty of the heavyweights here who will represent that next step up, the next stage for him, because you're spot on. Like, he's not getting anything out of these 1-round knockouts. He's not getting any development. He's not learning anything. He's not having to figure things out on the run. These guys are just going in hell for leather for as long as they last, and maybe they get to the second minute, third minute. While it's good, it's good profile building. He's getting a good highlights reel together and a good profile, which is important. But I don't. Yeah, can imagine he'd be learning a lot more in sparring than he is from any of these kinds of fights that he's had in the last year or so. But look, it's a criticism, but it's not even a criticism. But that we're talking about the bringing on the next generation and the new guys like Max, and Teta Moana's right there. He'll be right there in the next couple of years as well. But yeah, that's to your question. He needs to step up now, and a guy like Talivata, someone like Latelli, that's probably the next rung of the ladder for him.
Oh, mate, I'd love to see both those fights. They're brilliant suggestions. But yeah, cop that guy on the internet. But, that's all good. But mate, a fight I didn't see, because I'm guessing there were two fights. I don't even know if they were televised at all. But Austin Akuzo fought Emmanuel Danzo. Did you happen to catch that? I didn't.
No, I didn't see that. I think they did like a couple of fights on like Facebook or YouTube or something.
Oh, okay.
So I only came in. When did I start watching? It might have been the Jack Gregory fight. I switched over from the. I had split screen going for a while with the cricket on. But yeah, they had a couple, and I just haven't had the time. I've seen sort of a highlight of the finish, which looked pretty spectacular as well from Austin Akuso. But I didn't see any. Haven't seen any more of that.
Yeah, I think it started at 5:30 with the Jack Gregory Hold My Beer fight, and I was like, oh, okay, it must be every fight on the card. But yeah, obviously they had a couple beforehand. I didn't see how to watch those, but all in all, mate, I thought it was a pretty good card, especially the Jack Gregory Hayden Emerson fight. Like, to kick it off, that was a great way to kick off a fight card. Like, we've seen some shocking fights kick off pay-per-views before. Look, should this fight have been a pay-per-view? No, it shouldn't, but what can you do? Yeah, so I thought it was good. I wouldn't say value for money, because I disagree with the whole pay-per-view standpoint, but certainly an entertaining card and worth people's time watching. But just before we move on, Brendan, it shocked me that Tasman had they have moved away from DAZN. And this event was an exclusive Stan pay-per-view, which is, brings up those whole accessibility, visibility issues and all that type of thing. I guess within Australia, the Stan platform is bigger than DAZN, but they almost alienated the international audience completely at the last minute. They signed the deal with UFC Fight Pass for the international distribution, but I don't know. I'm not very good at following all this type of stuff. Did this move kind of make sense to you when it was announced, or what did you make of it?
First of all, I'll agree with you that a lot of that stuff just bores me to tears. You know what I mean?
Oh, we can just move on completely. No.
Who's fighting where? Look, on one hand, Stan have made moves and put on a couple of, or broadcast a few fight nights over the last couple of years. So I suppose most recently the Sonny Bill Williams and Paul Gallen fight, and a few fight nights of that nature. And I'm just trying to think back whether Stan have had, just straight up boxing, or maybe this was the first just sort of straight boxing rather than your footy crossovers that they've done. So in that regard, it's certainly interesting, and still a relatively new platform in Australia, but definitely I would imagine that there's more awareness of Stan than there is of DAZN, and when you can, if you're watching Channel 9 or whatever, and you get an ad for a fight on Stan, easier to advertise and market and sell it. So yeah, interesting. I'm not actually sure if it was a one-off, or if there's a deal in place, or what the go is with Tasman and Stan, or if Stan are going to stay in the boxing sort of scene. But yeah, it was an interesting one. Be interested to know sort of how it sold as well on that side, whether there was an uptick in pay-per-view buys, purely because it was Stan, and maybe people understand what Stan is more than DAZN, and it's a bit more accessible. So Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I guess only time will tell on that. So we'll see what happens moving into next year. But mate, there's a couple of good fights coming up on the weekend. We won't really get into them too much, but as we mentioned, Badu Jack's defending that WBC cruiserweight title in the rematch with Noel Mikhailian. So we'll certainly be keeping our eyes on that result from an Australian perspective. There's an awesome card on DAZN for free. Diego Pacheco is fighting Kevin Sadjo, which if you haven't seen Kevin Sadjo before, just think of Christian Mabili, and it's basically a carbon copy. We got Gabriel Flores and Joe Cordina coming back, Ernesto Mercado and Antonio Moran, and Sky Nicholson against Julianne Luna Avila, which will be a one to keep an eye on for sure. That's a great little foursome on a Sunday morning in Australian time. But we'll move on to the big one if we can, Brendan. Tim Tszyu's back. I didn't expect to see him this year. I didn't expect to see him so close after just having an entirely new team put together. But we know Tim likes to stay active, and he's living up to that moniker certainly now. Wednesday the 17th in another pay-per-view, he's back with Anthony Velasquez. What have you made of really everything with Tim? He dominates so much of the boxing media and even sporting media, especially in New South Wales. His every move and change, and there's no one who's been following it and covering it more closely than you. What have you made of the last couple of months from Tim post that loss to Fundora in the rematch?
Yeah, really, really interesting. And I don't know how it's going to play out. There's just, I don't know if we've ever gone into a Tim Tszyu fight with so many sort of questions left to be answered, I suppose, and unknowns. New team, new trainer, been training over in Miami for the past couple of months. He's just got back to Sydney on the weekend. What does that look like? Has he fixed those holes in his game? It's pretty quick turnaround too, right? Like he went over and spent, I think it was 6 weeks having a look at different gyms and trainers and stuff, and landed on Pedro Diaz, and the fight was announced not long after, and I guess it just turned into his training camp. So it's very interesting, and a huge sort of shifts outside of the ring for Tim Tszyu. And I guess you're waiting to see what it looks like. Does he still have it? Has he made the changes? And there's a lot to sort of be answered next Wednesday night.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, I added it up, and I have absolutely no issue with this opponent, Anthony Velasquez. I'll put my hand up. I had never heard of him. I watched his most recent fight on YouTube, and then just highlights of other fights, and obviously seen his record on BoxRec. I have no problem with this as an opponent for Tim with a new team and going through all the things that you just summarized then. I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, I vehemently disagree with it being a pay-per-view, but again, I'm not going to embroil you into my negativity towards Foxtel and No Limit on that part. But the fact that this is a pay-per-view is just absolute highway robbery, but they all are, so we're used to it. But I did add up. Now, let me get to it. Just as a reflection, and people get obsessed with numbers in boxing and stats and metrics, and I'm kind of the opposite. But I thought, just for a talking point, I'd just add up the win-loss records of both their opponents. So Anthony Velasquez's career opponent win-loss record is 158 wins and 160 losses. And Tim Tszyu's career opponent win-loss record is 474 wins and 88 losses. So that kind of says it all right there. That's kind of all we really need to know. But again, I'm defending the matchup, and I think this is kind of like a classic Mike Altamura influence here. I know I don't have any inside information, but this is exactly what you need to do when you've, with respect, been flogged a few times at the top level. Step down. And especially like you're testing out a new trainer you've only known for 8 weeks. Like, this is a perfect opponent. Maybe a little too soon, but I mean, they know their timing better than I do. So yeah, I have absolutely no issue with it. It's got a hell of a lot of intrigue. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But if Tim's, if he can still be what we think he can, I mean, I don't see him having too much trouble here. But man, I think this battle's got more to do in between his ears than inside the ropes.
Yeah, spot on in terms of this is exactly the kind of opponent that he should be fighting. He probably should have had maybe another one or two fights at this level before the Fundora rematch. Hindsight's 2020, right? But maybe even before the Buckram fight. But absolutely, gun matchmaking, I suppose, from Mike Altamura. It's it's a case of sort of rebuilding Tim Tszyu at the moment, and sort of talking to a few people. It's yes, he's expected to win, but does he do it in 2, 3, 4 rounds and look spectacular and we can go on, or does it drag out into 8, 9, 10, and then you're left with a whole lot more questions about whether he's got it or not. I've been watching again. I hadn't heard of Anthony Velasquez before this fight was made, but interviewed him last week. Puerto Rican background. Favorite fight is Tito Trinidad, Miguel Cotto.
Standard. You could have already written that article before you asked him the question.
Mate, he was talking about them, and I was like, oh look, Felix Trinidad had a big win over an Australian, right? Troy Waters at Madison Square Garden, knocked him out in the first round. Miguel Cotto, Danny Gill at Barclays Centre. Yeah, you want to do the same. And look, he's very confident, Anthony Velasquez, but not so much with the words. So he didn't do a lot. It was tough work trying to get a line out of. But I was watching a few highlights and whatever recent fights I can find, and again, Mike Altamura, you expect nothing less, but Tim's had troubles or issues recently with guys counter left hook. That's what Buckram dropped him with. Fundora got him, but Anthony Velasquez, his big weapon is an overhand right from range. So that's classic matchmaking as they sort of work on fixing some of the holes and the gaps and stuff in Tim Tszyu's game. I don't see Anthony Velasquez timing Tim Tszyu's right hand dropping and throwing a left hook. He'll be throwing bombs with the overhand right.
Yeah, and hopefully if he does try and time him, Tim's keeping that hand glued to the chin. But we'll find out in a couple of days. But, mate, Sam Goodman's back in a good domestic fight with Tyler Blizzard. On BoxRec, it is saying that this fight is at super bantamweight. But I guess that's just more of an indication than anything, because I don't think Tyler Blizzard's made that weight for about 2.5 years. So I'm not sure if Sam's going back down or this fight would be at featherweight. So it says super bantam, so we'll assume it is. But
Sam will stay at featherweight.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know why it says that on BoxRec. Maybe just because until recently Sam's been a bit super bantamweight, but Sam will be featherweight going forward.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for confirming that, BB. Well, man, I'm a massive Sam. I'm a Ghost fan. So I thought he put in such a great effort against Nick Ball, but just, that championship experience and that championship conditioning from Ball and that aggressiveness just got him over the line right when he needed it. And massive learning opportunity for Sam. I think he's going to bounce back bigger and better for it. But do you like this fight with Tyler Blizzard? It's a massive opportunity for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great fight too, coming off. Yeah, again, I thought Sam did really well against Nick Ball, which was, a fight upper weight against the guy with that kind of experience, against the guy with that kind of power. I thought Sam Goodman did really well in that fight, and just the big fight experience and the even just the weight. Not that Sam looked out of place at the weight, but guy like Nick Ball's, but such an experienced campaigner, got him over the line. But coming back and fighting Tyler Blizzard, I think it's a really interesting fight. And there's a few sort of similarities, like Sam's going up to go to featherweight, but if he loses this against a very talented fighter like Tyler Blizzard, then Goodman's career is at a big crossroad. So it's not just Tim Tszyu sort of fighting for his future, but there's an element of that for Sam as well.
Oh, mate, absolutely, 100%. No, I thought again, great matchmaking. Really good co-main. I can't wait for it. But mate, we've also got 2 Australian title fights on the card. Callum Peters is fighting Cody Beacon for the Australian middleweight title, and Colin Mazzutia and Dominic Molinaro are contesting for the Australian super welterweight title. Like, man, I'm such a Callum Peters fan. Cody Beacon's tough as. Same with Terra Moana. I want to see Callum Peters do rounds. I think Cody Beacon's going to be the guy to give him rounds. Again, brilliant matchmaking. I can't wait. What are your thoughts on the 2 Australian title fights?
Yeah, couple of good fights, and I think that is exactly why they've gone with Beacon for Callum Peters, just to get a few rounds under his belt. He needs to go into 3 and 4 and experience a few other things, because again, he's one of those next gen guys as well, Callum. Super talented, and I know they put a lot of pressure on him when he went to the World Champs in August, September, and he fell short there. But sort of a theme of this card that it's almost like not a rebuild in Callum Peters' case, but a reset for him, because they expected him to go on and medal at the World Champs, but he couldn't get it done. But he's 4-0 as a pro, super talented, very enigmatic as well. Great on the microphone, can talk really well. So this is just a great piece of matchmaking. Colin Mazzutia as well. I probably said it on this podcast before, but low key, he's been in some of the most exciting, entertaining fights in Australia in the last sort of half a decade. You think in the Wade Ryan battle in Newcastle and the rematch, and he's all actually. The Nikita Tszyu fight as well was a good tussle. And another guy, just a good guy. Good to see him get a national title, Australian title fight, and good piece, good matchmaking. Good to get those 2 over the line for this card.
Mate, just one more on the undercard, I will pot No Limit every time they deserve it, but I thought they were doing an absolutely fantastic job with this guy. I don't know why he left him, because I couldn't fault No Limit with the first part of Paulo's career. But Paulo Acuso, or as our good friend Sean Porter likes to call him, Paulo Acusco, is back against Shukrat Abdullayev, who is a tough Kazakh, seems to have way more amateur experience than pro. Very hard to get footage of, but we've seen these type of guys come through, so I'm expecting him to be pretty sharp, pretty tidy, and pretty experienced. Paulo's back with No Limit. I've been waiting for this for years. His career just went into limbo when he left, but I thought they made a great partnership initially, and I'm relieved and excited to see him back. What did you make of the news that Paulo was back with his old mates No Limit?
Yeah, so this has been bubbling away, the sort of comeback for, I'd say, 12 months. Okay. Paulo fought late last year, and he told me basically, so for background, I'm sure everyone listening knows the sort of story, but Paulo went to the Olympics, super hyped, had a little bit of a controversial loss in Tokyo, comes out, signs with No Limit, and is, like you say, they didn't make a single misstep, and it felt like, they were just, building him up to be one of the next stars, and he decided to part ways with No Limit, do his own thing for a couple of years. He changed a couple of times, changed sort of management, promoters and stuff over those. I think it's been about 2 years since his last No Limit fight. But he basically told me that for his last fight, he didn't get paid. So, he's sort of gone, and he's trying to light out on his own, do his own thing, and he's come up, empty-handed, empty-pocketed as well. So he's back with No Limit. So this fight against Shukrat Abdullayev was supposed to be on the Liam Paro card in Brisbane in September, but
Oh,
Shokrat's visa didn't come through in time, and they didn't let him into the country. So,
I didn't know
so
that.
the fight got axed on I think the Monday. The fight night was on the Wednesday. So Paulo lands in Brisbane, finds out he doesn't have an opponent. They're trying to find a replacement. Ben Hussein was offering himself to step in, and they had words like 2 days before the fight talking about it. And ultimately, it didn't happen. But it's been a long and winding journey for Paulo Alcuso to finally get back, I suppose, on a card of some magnitude. After, I suppose, trying to go his own way and do his own thing, and it not quite working out. So interesting to see how that time out of the spotlight, and he hasn't been super active recently. See how he looks against a tough Kazakh like Shukrat Abdullayev.
Yeah, mate. Hopefully, this can lead to a bit of career stability for Paulo and some consistency over the next 12 to 18 months. But, mate, if I had to have one word to sum up this card, it is intriguing. Everything on this card that we've just spoken about, and you have made me even more so intrigued. Mate, I'm excited for that card. It is a good card. Should it be a pay-per-view? No, absolutely not. That's a joke. But but anyway, I'll keep those thoughts to myself. But, mate, just want to quickly touch on, because we're sort of running up on time. I have to get your thoughts on the Netflix show on the 20th of December. But we'll start at the other side of the card. Cherneka Johnson's defending her undisputed bantamweight title. I believe it's against Amanda Galley? I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce the last name. Mate, this is a massive opportunity for Cherneka. She's sort of found a way to get on these huge cards of recent times, and she's delivered when the lights have been the brightest. I mean, I didn't see that coming. So what have you made of Cherneka's rise?
Yeah, mate, this is... Look, we'll get to the, I suppose, circus event at the top of the card, but
I don't really want to.
and say what you want about one half of that circus event, but I suppose the flip side is, or the other side of it is, he's done pretty good things for women's boxing at the top level, and Cherneka Johnson is certainly riding that wave at the moment. What was the last card she was on when she won the titles at Madison Square Garden? That's right.
Yeah.
So she's gone from fighting, on undercards around Australia to these big, like, genuinely global events because of Jake Paul and sort of, like we say whatever you want, but he's done really good things for women's boxing. Alicia Baumgartner's on this card, and he did a lot for Amanda Serranos as well, and so look, like you say, I'll never pull my punches when it comes to what I think really of the top of this card, but it's working out pretty well for Cherneka Johnson.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess when we get all these big jokes, there is a positive or some light at the end of the tunnel for fighters who deserve it. So that's always good. But, mate, just two more quick ones I just wanted to get your thoughts on while we've still got the time. But, mate, on Sunday the 21st of December, live and free on DAZN, Sunday the 21st Australian time, we've got the finals of the WBC Grand Prix in the middleweight division. Dylan Biggs has won 4 fights, and he's made his way to the very final against another bloke who's won 4 fights, the undefeated 15-0 Montrealer Derek Pomerlau. I mentioned this tournament back on a podcast earlier in the year, I believe before it had started, or maybe we were one fight in, to the Aussie boxing scribe, Anthony Cox, the legend. And I said, well, what do you sort of make of this tournament as a career move for Dylan? And he goes, look, great experience, but unless you win it, you're not really going to get the value out of it. And, well, a couple of impressive performances later, and Dylan's one win away from winning the whole thing. I don't know if it's just me talking it up, but this tournament's been pretty fun. I'm not going to say I've watched all the weight classes in every fight, but certainly tried to catch, definitely Dylan and his bracket for most of it. I've missed a little bit, but it's all been pretty entertaining. I've really enjoyed it. And I think it's sort of grown in stature and sort of a little bit of prestige. Maybe I'm sort of using a little bit too much hyperbole, but mate, what have you made of the last couple of months for Dylan during this Grand Prix?
Yeah, what an incredible run! Like a different, very different idea, and similarly, I thought, how does a professional boxing tournament work? Like it's just so outside the sort of norm for boxing. But this Grand Prix style event, basically a knockout sort of tournament over the past sort of 8 months or so, has created just a star making platform for Dylan Biggs, and mate, really stoked to see him in this final. And I don't know much about the bloke he's fighting, Derek Pomerlau, but hopefully he can get this win, and that sort of stands him in good stead in terms of the WBC and I guess the eyes that are attracted when it's a fight of on that sort of platform and with those sort of people. Because it was 2 years ago almost exactly that he was fighting Nikita Tszyu in a pay-per-view, and that was a sort of a gunslinging battle up in Newcastle. But then what, right? So what happens after that? And I think he was fighting back in Southport Sharks or something. So it's been great to see him kick on and get some good wins and just be so close to I suppose taking out the whole thing for that division, for the middleweight division.
Yeah, mate, Pomerlau, I mean, I reckon Dylan's got the better fundamentals, the better technical skill, more patience. I think the shorter rounds, it's their 6-round fights, actually suits Pomerlau better because he's a bit wild, and he leaves it all out there, mate. He's aggressive. He's a southpaw too. So I reckon this is going to be an absolute banger of a 6-rounder. Hopefully Dylan can get it done and win this whole thing. But if not, it's still been certainly an impressive showing from him, and a great for his career development and experience. So yeah, I'm certainly going to be keeping an eye on that one. But just before we go, very last one, I promise. I promise, Brendan. We've got to jump through to January just a little bit. We're still a ways away, and we've got a lot of stuff to get through before we probably really jump into our minds and think about it deeply. But Zerafa Nikita Tszyu, mate, what are your sort of outside thoughts from sort of 8 weeks away or so, or 6 weeks, I guess?
It's a really interesting fight, and I think it's almost like perfectly timed in terms of their careers. Like, Nikita's obviously on the rise, has had pay-per-view fights and headline fights, but he's definitely still sort of learning his craft, whereas Michael's been at the very top level in world title fights, and he's very slick and he's very crafty and experienced. But he's on the other side of I suppose the career progression. So and he's had some big fights in that knockout in Vegas last year, Michael against Lara. So I think it's perfectly timed. Like if this fight was another 12 months down the line, I think Nikita will have developed a little bit more, and Michael's got a bit more runs on the board. Probably flicks back towards Nikita's way, and if it was 12 months previously, Nikita's too green and Michael Zerafa's too experienced, and he gets it done. So I think we're at this perfect sort of meeting point between those two guys, and I think it's actually a really evenly matched fight. I don't know who's going to win, but it's a really, really intriguing fight, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure, mate. It's almost got the same feeling as, hopefully not with all the pre-fight just embarrassments, but Zerafa and Isaac Hardman. It was sort of the same kind of thing. The school of thought for some people, at least, was Zerafa's had 4 rounds in bloody 3 years or whatever. This is the end. Hardman's younger, he's bigger, he's stronger, he punches harder, he's going to end it. And Zerafa just cut through him with absolute ease. There is a version of this fight I could see out playing like that, especially that Nikita gets over aggressive and rocked and dropped all the time. But then can Zerafa not necessarily pull a rabbit out of the hat, but can he have another one of those Hardman type performances on a big stage that, maybe not a lot of people in the arena that night will be thinking he's capable of? It's so intriguing. I think you summed it up with the timing perfectly, mate, but we'll get into that one a little bit more deeply as the time comes next year. But Brendan, I'm coming right up on our time limit, mate. I had to cut a ton out. Otherwise, I would have been talking to you for another 4 hours, but we'll save that for a couple of months down the track, mate. I'll get you back on. But thanks very much for the chat, mate. As always, I will put all the links to all the outlets and your social media in the description of this episode so everyone can get along and follow with your excellent content, mate. And I'm assuming you're going to be where you belong, ringside for Tim Tszyu next week?
Yeah, that's the next one. Last one to round out the year. Tim Tszyu, what's it called now? They've renamed the convention centre to the TikTok Entertainment Centre in Darling Harbour in Sydney. So the last event for the year.
Okay, and what have you got coming up content-wise? Any special sort of year-end wrap-ups or any of that type of stuff that we can keep our eyes peeled for?
Oh, it's a good point. You know what? I'm going to have to put together a few lists, top 10 lists of the year lists. Yes. I hadn't actually thought of that. I'll have to do that. Stay tuned.
Okay, well, Brendan, I'll let you go, mate, but just stay on the line just for a couple of seconds while this uploads. But thanks very much for your time once again, mate, and we'll do it again next year.
No worries. Cheers, man.
All right, guys, and that was my catch-up with Brendan Bradford, truly one of the good guys of Australian and Australasian boxing. Always have so much fun chatting to Brendan. And yeah, as I mentioned in the intro, he gave me some time literally out of his workday in the office, still in the office building, so I had to cut a fair bit of stuff out that I wanted to talk about on the rundown, but December is a chaotic month, and I appreciate any time anyone gives me, and that's certainly no different with Brendan. And I think he would have given me more time if he could have, but unfortunately, that is December. I'm sure you guys are in the same boat as well, but I thought we still got to cover a ton of stuff, and I always love picking Brendan's brain because he has such a unique perspective. Like, there's not many guys in the country that, when I'm asking them questions about fighters or fights, have literally not only been ringside and had the blood and sweat on themselves from these fighters, but he's been in the gym with them. He's seen them pre-fight, he's seen them on fight night, he's seen them post-night. His experience and the way he's able to articulate it, I just find it so fascinating, and it's always just so much fun to get his perspective on things because, yeah, like I said, there's only a couple of guys in the country that can give it. So anytime Brendan is generous enough to give it, I will take it. So, guys, I also forgot to mention, Brendan is like a content machine, and he's actually on his YouTube channel, which I will put the link in the description of this episode. He started a soccer video pod with ring announcer Stephen Payos, which is fantastic. Like, that's the way Brendan's mind. He's always working on stuff. He's always releasing things. He's always thinking outside the box. It's pretty inspiring, actually. So if you have an interest in soccer, get on board and check that out on Brendan's personal YouTube. And I'll also have all the links to his social media and also his author page at Code Sports in there. And yeah, guys, get on. And what was I talking about? I've just rambled and talked myself into a standstill. Here we go. So if you click on all those links, you will be supporting one of the good guys of not only Australian boxing, but Australasian boxing. So, guys, yeah, I ran into that video recording issue again. Yeah, that's 2 in a row, so I've got to lift my game. I'll definitely keep the YouTube video episodes going. It just happened to be that something's going on where I can I actually was able to capture the audio much better. No one cares about all this bullshit anyway, but I'm working on it, and hopefully next time out, the normal YouTube videos with the video will be back, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. So guys, if you want to get in contact with me, you can send me an email at tuscpod@gmail.com. That's tuskpod@gmail.com. If you want to throw a tweet at me, you can do that at delivery_man2. Also got the Insta page, guys, so jump on there if you feel like it. And guys, as mentioned, December is a massive month, man, for Australian boxing, for world boxing. Look, we've put out 2 pods pretty close together recently. I don't know, man. I say a lot of things in these outros that I do not deliver on, but I might be trying to go for 3 in a month. There's just too much to talk about. Had to leave so much on the cutting room floor. But again, let's just consider it a early Christmas present if it comes out, because no one might like it, just won't. But we'll see what happens. I'll be trying to. So if it comes out, it comes out. If not, we'll be looking at sometime in January, probably before that Nikita Tszyu and Michael Zerafa fight. So if not in December, we won't have to wait too long anyway. But most importantly, best of luck to all the Aussies in action over the month of December. Guys, enjoy your holiday times. If this is the last time we speak, not a very consistent year for the TUSC this year. That's my bad. I really need to change that for next year, and I'm genuinely going to be trying to. So, few reasons for that this year. Nothing nefarious or bad or anything like that, but in a much better spot for multiple different reasons from now onwards through next year. So hopefully that translates into some better consistency for the TUSC. But guys, enjoy your holidays if this is the last time we speak this year. Enjoy the fights, and I'll chat to you later.
Well, let's travel, may add up the change. Living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came.
Going all out.
I was living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came. I got the wake up call, laughing through the window frame.